Welcome to the Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting on March 21st.
And if we, you know.
Sam, I got you on speaker.
We're waiting for you, Joe, and Zach New to set up the meeting.
Yeah, I'm signed in.
So are we, and we're just says waiting for the host.
Right.
Huh, that's odd. Okay, well, we've got you now. I've got you on speaker. So we wanted to get the meeting started. Okay?
All right.
We'll see if we can work the bugs out for the next one.
All right.
So I have minutes, approval or corrections to March 7th minutes. Do we have any corrections or approval of the minutes?
I had the opportunity to read through them and make a motion that we accept as printed.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Reports from the Harbor Master.
All right, our 7800 dock project continues. We're still missing some parts. Colin is beating the bushes trying to get our distribution boxes here. That's about all I have on that project at the moment. The rest of us here are putting everything back together that was damaged over the winter. So we rounded up a couple of jet ski docks that broke free. We put the 2 finger piers back on behind the office here. Tomorrow we'll probably play with the one over on the 800 dock. So we're chipping away at that. We have 7 boats in the water so far. Charter boats primarily, and I know they've gone out fishing a couple times. So that's where we are at the moment, unless anybody has any questions.
The fish cleaning station will be open on time? Or?
Before the first tournament. Usually we aim for the week of the 15th to turn the water on, but we'll have it all up and going before the first tournament. I'll probably get the one at Trail Creek going sooner than that. I know I've got a bad valve there, but we can probably get that going here this week yet.
Okay.
I'd like to avoid fish in the dumpster like we had last year.
Sure. Any update on the corn rats out here in the trees?
Well, I know the Coast Guard had a tree trimmer in. I haven't seen their quote for that yet. I handed out, Socrates has seen it. We downloaded some stuff on a big study that was done in Europe on how to control them. There is no foolproof method. You try multiple things and see what works. So maybe between trimming some branches and some scare devices, that'll help. No guarantee.
Any other questions for the Harbor Master? All right. Reports from Assistant Harbor Master, Ms. Bilecki.
We're working on the stickers and they will be ready by the 1st of April. From the calls that we're getting, boat sales seems to be up again this year. There's a bill for Simon Lobstong Studio, and that is for helping set up the credit cards that people can go online and pay now. So far, it seems to be working well and people are liking it, and they can go back and look at their old invoices on it too. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Bilecki? Seeing none. Next is budget and financial oversight review and approval of the bills. Since Sam is on the phone, I will go over those. We have a total of $11,978.58 in bills. Flex Pack is the $3,500. That's for cleaning supplies, so you know. And then we also had some more slings purchased, pretty much standard. And then we have the merchant services bill of $2761.27, which is mostly credit cards. And then last is NC Port to the Capital Improvements Register. We have $9740.03 due to Edgewater, and then a payment due to Larson Danielson Construction for $136,353.21. giving a total of $146,093 and 24 cents. With that being said, do I have any motions to pay the bill?
I'll make a motion that we accept the payment register as printed and motion to accept it.
A second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Maybe
Then,
question on the merchant services. We have, I don't know how many credit cards, and maybe at the next meeting or something, this is collected.
Those are just credit card fees for
that's fees.
the machines, for the credit card machines.
Oh, it's not what we have that we spend?
No.
No, that's just bills that they set up separately. So every time you have to bill.
Credit
it's
card
registered
fees.
For credit card fees.
Wow,
Yeah,
Charges every swipe.
is that right?
it's like
Oh, yeah.
2.9% about.
Yeah, we're paying about 4% on this. That's the general average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So we do have our own credit cards with them that we use. I see those once in a while as a,
Yeah, we have for card member services.
who has those cards maybe? And you don't have to answer, maybe in the future or next meeting.
There's only one card.
There's only one card whose signature is on it and
Tim's.
what all the expenses we use on that. 'Cause I don't think we have a line item on the budget.
Well, no,
For
because they
credit
go to
card.
all different things like the Comcast bill, the phone bill.
But they're all broke out on the register of what we pay.
Yeah, it goes
Not
to that
necessarily-
account.
Yeah. So you won't see
Oh, I
just
got
credit
it,
card
I got
charge.
it.
Yeah, you won't
Okay.
just see credit card charge, you'll
Yeah.
see what was paid.
Very good.
We
I have
might use the
nothing else.
card to do it,
Yeah.
I understand.
all right? Claims and insurance, John's not here, so I have nothing to report on that. Port operations personnel, I talked with Mary Ann, and it seems that we pretty much are close to being full. Everybody needs, except Tim said we might be short a forklift driver that we need to look for, so that's about the only thing I have to communicate with that. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Mr. Messina, voter communications and special events.
Do have a couple things that the staff and myself got together on the doc rep meetings for this 2022 year. And I can read those off. They'll also be in our minutes, I'm sure. But June 11th, July 09, and August 13th. We talked about possibly from 10 o'clock to maybe moving it up to 9 o'clock. We haven't decided on that. If anybody has any thoughts or ideas on it, let us know, but nothing's been published, so none of the outside people know that yet. So I'm sure by next meeting we have, we'll know if it's, what time it is, and maybe get some thoughts and ideas if everyone puts together, or maybe some of the things we can discuss at these meetings. And everyone's welcome to attend, to sit in the audience and listen in. Any questions on that? I was also asked the current cost of fuel. Do we know what that is?
Well, it's last year's rate right now, $3.79, and I'm waiting for the price to come in. We should have it within the next day or so.
Okay, $3.79 currently.
But that's just till I get the bill, and then it's
Then goes current
then
rates.
it's gonna go to current rate.
Okay, someone else had asked about defibrillators. If it's possible to have a few on the dock. They said it's been brought up 3 years ago, and I kind of remember it. And I think at that point in time, we pretty much voted it down, but the person's asking again if we think it'd be feasible to have one or two either at the...
Well, I can get some pricing and talk to the fire department. I think one of their concerns was the metal finger piers, people being wet when you're zapping them, and then you end up zapping the person trying to help as well. So, but I'll see, maybe that technology has improved.
Okay, yeah, that was a question that came up. We have an answer to that. I think we probably possibly have enough trained people to operate them. But that's a good point and concern to have that.
then the point of having them secure so the right people can get access.
Sure,
That's-
and it's tough to not use them right. I mean, it kind of walks you through and tells you everything. We did meet, I think on my thing also is the, it's not. Well, it's not on here anymore. But the stuff with Mr. Terry, that he was here and discussed some of the summer activities that he wanted to have. And I'm not going into detail, I'll leave that for Mrs. Butner. But she had called the meeting with herself, Mr. Gray and Mr. Terry were here and discussed a lot of the events that they talked about having and possibly what we can do to help them out. And we discussed also amongst ourselves some of the other activities that were not on his list, such as the cardboard boat dash, whether or not we want to have that. But we're going to get together here in another few weeks and discuss further into that, and I'll let Mrs. Butner cover more of that. That's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Messina? Seeing none, we're moving on to Mr. Manor, Master Planning Special Projects and Park Liaison.
Mr. Manor has no report.
All right. And moving on, we're going to go to Ms. Butner, Advertising and Public Relations.
Like Dan was saying, we met with Terry the other week, discussed the other events that are coming, the new events, the Singing Sands, the Venetian Night, and as well as Oktoberfest that's returning to Washington Park, and just discussed with him if we should just do a straight out monetary, sponsorship with him, or if he needs anything from us like dumpster spaces or using some of our people to help make the event function well. So we're going to be meeting with him again in a few weeks to discuss, what's going to best benefit him and what can we logically do for them. So yeah, that's all I have to report now. I'll have more next meeting and what we're actually going to be doing with the events we're going to, sponsor.
You did contact him about the applications for the river.
Yes, regarding the Venetian Night, I checked in with Terry to make sure that he's getting all the permits through the DNR and the Coast Guard, and he says that he put them in and everything should go according to plan.
Perfect. Any questions for Ms. Butner?
Maybe not a question, just a comment. She was well versed in knowing her advertising budget, what we had spent so far for 2022 and what we had available. So she brought that to the meeting also, and that was interesting.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, numbers are fun.
Okay. Attorney's report, Mr. Zach Noon, you have some things to cover today.
I do. Earlier today, I emailed to each board member and to management staff a memorandum that I put together on the obligations that the Port Authority would have as the landowner if we do accept the Blue Chips donation of the parcel that contains the boardwalk. The obligations flow from the permit that was issued to Blue Chip to expand their gaming operations, and there were conditions attached to the two permits. One was, they were both approved on March 17th. One was the approval of construction in a floodway. The other one was approval of the access channel. But each one of them has a special conditions section. And from items 2 and 3 in the memo, item 1 is just kind of a chronology of the permit and what happened, when the application was filed, when it was received, when the public comment period was, what public comments came in, when the first hearing was held. So that is not binding on us, but it does inform us as to what some of the players that are involved here were thinking. But 2 and 3 are the two permits, and both 2 and 3 have special conditions which are quoted, and they're verbatim, 10 and 11. So I'm sure you've all read it, and I alluded to it at the last meeting, but it requires that there be a wooden boardwalk open to the general public year-round, except when unsafe conditions exist, such as ice. Fishing opportunities must be allowed on Trail Creek and the basin side of the walkway. Then there's some signage that we have to post that's consistent with Indiana Department of Natural Resources, when you can fish, when you can't fish. So the bottom line is, if we take the donation, that boardwalk becomes ours. we have to keep it open to the public year-round and make it accessible to people to fish. And I suppose people that want to go out there and just look around or whatever it is they want to do. There's definitely some potential liability there that we need to think about, and there are certainly some improvements and repairs that need to be done. So on page 2 is basically my analysis, and that is there's nothing in these documents that indicates there's some sort of expiration date. So while that boardwalk is out there, it'll be our responsibility again to keep it open to the public for fishing or whatever other purpose, maintain it so that it's safe. One of my concerns is, as I alluded to, it could be sort of an attractive nuisance if it's open to the public and kids decide, well, that's a great place to go hide and drink or to have parties or whatever it is kids are doing these days, because there's really nobody back there. It's not very well lit, and if it's one of the comments said it needs to be open 24 hours a day. Well, that was a comment, and it was from the environmental coordinator. That requirement was not set forth in the 2 permits in the special conditions. So it's possible we may be able to go to the DNR and say, how about we just keep it open during daylight hours, as opposed to 2 o'clock in the morning. We've got to make sure nobody's out there, and that's the other issue. Do we have to install cameras? Do we have to have security personnel there 24 hours a day, or however long it's open, to see that there's nothing going on that either endangers people or that people are doing things that are dangerous to them? I mean, I don't think we have immunity. If there's a dangerous condition on that boardwalk, it's our responsibility. So my last suggestion is we've got to find out how much this is going to cost us. The harbor master and I went out there a few weeks ago, and there are some gaping holes in that boardwalk, and then there's this little house thing that's built out there, and the stairs leading up to them are totally dangerous. Nobody should be going on there, and then there's a big hole in the middle of it. So we got to see how much it's going to cost to repair that and put it in condition where the public can use it safely, and then what our annual maintenance costs are going to be. How much more our insurance is going to go up, our premiums on an annual basis because of this. How much we're going to have to pay if we do have to have cameras out there looking at it, or if we have to have security personnel. So this gift could be pretty costly to the Port Authority.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's not only pretty costly to the Port Authority, but this is something that we would be dumping money into that we get nothing out of.
Essentially.
I mean, we don't, nobody has to pay us for us to do this.
Right. Yeah, I don't think we can charge anything.
Right.
No.
And the harbor master and I talked about what we might be able to use with the concrete portion, maybe some additional parking for trailers or things like that. But other than that, it's nothing but a burden to us. I just don't see an upside to us being the landowner.
I believe the original intent of this was for fishermen. Plus, I think Blue Chip was supposed to install a fish cleaning station there.
That's what I saw.
But they never.
And maintain it for the life of the project.
And that was never completed.
With public restrooms too for the pier as well. In here it said fish cleaning station must be adjacent to the public restroom. So they didn't put a public restroom or a fish cleaning station there.
So we have to do all of that. I'm sorry, Mr. President. We have to do all of that.
Well, I would argue that they still are obligated to do
Yeah, what
it.
I'm saying is Blue Chip has never done that.
That's correct.
So they would be responsible for that.
That would be my
And
position.
we would just be responsible for maintaining it
Thereafter. Right.
thereafter.
Because it was a condition of the permit that allowed them to expand their gaming operations that they installed the fish cleaning station. They haven't done it. And they haven't maintained that boardwalk.
Yeah, and that's one thing I don't want to take on. I wouldn't want to take on for us. They would have to fulfill all that. Yes.
Yeah, I've taken a walk out there too and seen it's in real bad shape. no doubt. But I think we've gone almost far enough in this, and Mr. Zach Noon has spent a lot of time doing a lot of paperwork. Being a real estate deal, I would almost like our president to call an executive meeting for the board to discuss this. Do we want to go any further with it? Do we want to put it at a halt? Do we have further questions that we would like Mr. Zach Noon to ask? I think for personnel issues and real estate, you can call an executive meeting. And I would like our president to do that.
But we can do that. We can call an executive meeting on that and come up with all the questions. Because I'd like to see more answers from the blue chip, what their buy-in is on all this. I mean, they're just trying to shun the responsibility. I remember I don't think we as a board would be interested in taking on their project that they never fulfilled. It almost would come with a budget for them to help maintain it without the responsibility.
Mr. Zach Noon?
Yes.
Were they breaking the law by not fulfilling this? Was there a date set that they had to have this done by?
I didn't see a date certain by which they had to do this, but it was certainly a condition of the issuance of the permit. In other words, they pledged to do these things in exchange for being granted the permits to expand their operations. So the DNR, no doubt, granted the permits and just assumed they were going to do that which they were supposed to do, and apparently never followed up to confirm that they did, because I guess it's not in the DNR's interest necessarily to ensure that there's a fish cleaning station there and that the boardwalk is being maintained. So we're now the ones that are looking at these things that haven't been done that should have been done.
I guess my question should be, is there a liability to Blue Chip for not doing that?
Well, yeah, arguably they're in violation of their commitments under the permits. Now, what the DNR can probably force them to do it. The question is, are they going to?
Yeah.
I mean, we're certainly not going to take the parcel and then be the ones responsible for doing what Blue Chip should have done almost 20 years ago.
Yeah. Right. Well, the blue chip was transfer ownership at one time too, so that's could be where the whole big hole is with them. Just assuming that.
Yeah, well, but somebody still has that obligation.
Right. Oh, yes, they still do because they took ownership.
Right.
But no one in the DNR never said, "Hey."
Exactly.
So
we haven't pursued Blue Chip on this, huh?
No, not yet.
no.
I guess it's not our position to pursue them.
Exactly.
It's somebody else's position to pursue them.
Well, it's Blue Chip's position.
No,
Yeah.
what I mean, to pursue them to do it.
Right. What I would say is,
it's not our position to do that.
If we are going to accept the gift, and that's a big gift, if they're going to have to fulfill their pre-existing commitments to the DNR, not dump it off on us and then say, now it's your responsibility to build and maintain the fish cleaning station. Your responsibility now to maintain the boardwalk that we haven't maintained for almost 20 years.
That or figure out to get with the DNR and see what they have to do to cancel the project. That would be back on them.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
And the other thing that could possibly happen, because when we originally met on this, Blue Chip was giving it to the city. So if we reject it and turn it down, and we can talk about all this, and I've got a lot of thoughts and ideas, they may still decide to give it off to the city.
Well, I'm sure the city is well aware of what's all going on at this point.
Okay, well, that's all I have to say, but I'd like to see a meeting called.
Well, would the city accept it without them fulfilling their obligation?
Yeah, we don't.
That we can't talk in that realm. It's not at that point. It wouldn't be our concern, right?
That's true.
It would be our concern.
It's out of our area.
So I do recommend, in addition to the executive session to talk about this, that we get some numbers on what we think it would cost to repair it to begin with, and then to maintain it on an ongoing basis. And then also, if we've got to put security cameras or if we have to have security personnel there. And then maybe have John talk to the insurance agent and find out how much the premiums are going to go up. Because I can't imagine they're not going to go up with all that additional space, especially if there's nobody there to keep an eye on it. Blue Chip's not going to be watching it for us.
No. No. Then I get the question is, have we forwarded this information to the blue chip to know that, this is all the concerns?
No, I have not communicated with them.
Okay.
The only communication was when Tim and I went out there and met with, don't remember his name now, I
Head of
apologize.
security, but I don't remember.
Yeah, he was, I think, in the head of maintenance or head of facilities or something.
Okay.
And he went out there and walked it with us.
Okay. All right. 'Cause
Then the only other matter I have is the annual internal controls report. I circulated a draft of that, and I've gotten comments from the president, and then Chad, if you have a chance, when you have, just look it over and shoot me an email with any comments you have, and then it should be ready to go and presented to the board as the final report for 2021 at the next meeting.
Any
And
other
that's all I
questions?
have.
Any other questions for Mr. Executive at this time? No? Any new business that we would want to bring up? Old business, dinner cruise boat, blue chip spring, which we pretty much covered there, employee lunch. Anything there?
I think we've already discussed that, and we're gonna have possibly something this summer.
Okay.
So I think that can really be taken off the old business.
Okay. And nothing on the Hobie cat. There's nothing came back from him since then, not last time. And we have table subject of the bathhouse, which we're still gotta figure out everything in the blue chip first.
I don't think we should take the employee lunch off of old business because it's still old business. It hasn't happened. We haven't seen a budget. Don't know how much it's gonna cost.
We need to-
We need to talk more about that before we take it off of old business.
It was originally to have that as a Christmas party or something, and it's been dropped. So it's a Christmas party.
Let's try to, let's leave it on there and let's get a date
Sure.
for this. So we'll leave it on and then we'll get a date, try to get a prime date, then we can just move it into the schedule.
What's the Hobie Cat proposal? Refresh me on that.
Hobie Cat, where he came in and wanted to set up a building out here and a rental off the beachfront. And he was gonna do some more investigating and has not shown signs.
No.
So,
Maybe add on to the old business, and somebody else was gonna bring it up tonight, I was told. The canoes, whatever they are, that are still over by Sprague.
Spray Point, yeah, I haven't yet, I sent out communication to someone at Culver because they have a crew team in Culver, but I haven't got a response back, so I'll reach out to them again.
They belong to Marquette or to Culver?
They belong to Marquette, but Marquette just left and doesn't have any use for them.
They don't have a
I
team
think
anymore.
probably an invoice, or possibly an invoice to them for storage would probably get a quicker response than, trying to communicate via landline.
I don't know the whole history, but I don't know if there was ever anything set up for them to pay anything at the time, so I don't know the
No,
history.
there wasn't, it was temporary storage, is all,
Okay.
till the time.
So I'll reach back out to him and try to get that figured out, because otherwise they would become scrap as far as we're concerned.
And maybe something else in our old business, we've talked about additional security out there, as far as security lights, security cameras, our security personnel. I think that should possibly be added on to old business. It's something we've discussed in the past.
Maybe
We've
we
discussed
should do
about the
it.
security guard and his telephone.
Right, maybe we should do a committee on that.
Great idea.
So I think me, you, and Chad would be good people to come up with a committee on that, because he's around the other areas more than we are at times, so I think you could shine some good light on that, so let's.
Sure, we can do that.
Do a committee on that.
That's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Cooper, do you have anything today?
I have nothing.
That's great to see you.
Good.
And do I have any motions to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
A second.
We're adjourned.
5:38.